was working on two separate projects. I was teaching narrative writing at Yale University, and I was also working on a book about the civil rights movement. So I kind of went on this mission to figure out what are all the tricks of writing that people have used everywhere. All the great ones have solved any problem that we can imagine coming up in writing. And so I wanted to reverse engineer some of the great writers, from Hemingway to Didion to Elizabeth Gilbert to Fitzgerald, and all the way back to the Odyssey by Homer. And I wanted to figure out what were the specific tricks that they used when they came into a challenge works. And I figured out how they kind of moved into a scene, how they developed a character, how they changed the action or changed the course of the action. And I wrote down a list of over 100 very specific tricks that people could use to write. What does the brain tell us about the writer's challenge, about organizing material, gathering evidence, constructing sentences and paragraphs, developing scenes, developing arguments, and all other kinds of challenges like that? And I figured that, in a way, writing is kind of like running a grocery store, or it's like running any kind of organization or business, or even a family. It's a matter of taking a number of separate pieces and figuring out how to manage them, how to put them together, how to make them work together. And so by understanding how the brain worked, we developed a number of really specific pieces or specific tricks that you could use to manage your own work. But I also wanted to understand how the brain worked because I wanted to understand how the reader was going to be experiencing whatever it is that the writer had to offer. Because reading itself requires work. And in fact, Kurt Vonnegut once said that reading and writing are the only arts that require equal participation by the recipient. And so the reader has to do a lot of work too. And the question is, how does the reader's brain work? How does the reader manage to take in all this information? And when does the reader get excited? And when does the reader get turned off? When does the reader get focused? And when does the reader get confused? And so by understanding how the brain works, you can manage both the front end of the process, the writer's work, and the back end of the process, the reader's work. And what I found was the skills that I was gathering through this reverse engineering process were dovetailing really nicely with what the brain was telling us. And so really the great writers throughout history, whether they knew it or not, they were writing toward the limits and the potential of the brain when they were putting together a long story or a short story, a news article or a piece of drama, whatever it was. They understood intuitively, at least, how the brain worked and how to manage themselves and the reader.